Waiting on the lawn at the base of the steps while the lights were warming, Chris looked toward Dennings as he flung an obscenity at a hapless grip and then visibly glowed with satisfaction. He seemed to revel in his eccentricity. Yet at a certain point in his drinking, Chris knew, he could suddenly explode into temper, and if it happened at 3 or 4 in the morning, he was likely to telephone people in power and viciously abuse them over trifling provocations. Chris remembered a studio chief whose offense had consisted in remarking mildly at a screening that the cuffs of Dennings's shirt looked slightly frayed, prompting Dennings to awaken him at approximately 3 a.m. to describe him as a cunting bore, whose father, the founder of the studio, was more than likely psychotic, and had fondled Judy Garland repeatedly during the filming of The Wizard of Oz, then on the following day would pretend to amnesia and subtly radiate with pleasure when those he defended described in detail what he had done. Although, if it suited him, he would remember. Chris smiled and shook her head as she remembered him destroying his studio suite of offices in a gin-stoked, mindless rage, and how later, when confronted by the studio's head of production with an itemized bill and Polaroid photos of the wreckage, he'd archly dismissed them as obvious fakes, since the damage was far, far worse than that. Chris did not believe he was an alcoholic or even a hopeless problem drinker, but rather that he drank and behaved outrageously because it was expected of him. He was living up to his legend. Ah, well, she thought, I guess it's a kind of immortality. She turned, looking over her shoulder for the Jesuit who had smiled when Burke had uttered the obscenity. He was walking in the distance, head lowered despondently, a lone black cloud in search of the rain. She had never liked priests. So assured. So secure. And yet this one. All ready, Chris? Ready. All right. Absolute quiet. The assistant director called out. Roll the film, ordered Burke. Rolling. Speed. Now action. Chris ran up the steps while extras cheered and Dennings watched her, wondering what was on her mind. She'd given up the arguments far too quickly. He turned a significant look to the dialogue coach, who immediately padded up to him dutifully and proffered his open script to him like an aging altar boy handing the missal to his priest at solemn mass. They had worked with only intermittent sun, and by 4, the sky was dark and thick with roiling clouds. Burke, we're losing the light, the AD observed worriedly. Yes, they're going out all across the fucking world. On Dennings's instruction, the assistant director dismissed the company for the day, and now Chris was walking homeward, her eyes on the sidewalk, and feeling very tired. At the corner of 36th and O, she stopped to sign an autograph for an aging Italian grocery clerk who had hailed her from the doorway of his shop. She wrote her name and warm best wishes on a brown paper bag. Waiting for a car to pass before crossing the road at N Street, she glanced diagonally across the street to a Catholic church. Holy something or other. Staffed by Jesuits. John F. Kennedy had married Jackie there, she had heard, and had worshipped there. She tried to imagine it. John F. Kennedy among the votive lights and the pious, wrinkled women. John F. Kennedy with his head bowed down in prayer. I believe. A détente with the Russians. I believe, I believe. Apollo IV amid the rattlings of the rosary beads. I believe in the resurrection and the life ever. That's it. That's the grabber. Chris watched as a Gunther beer truck lumbered by on the cobbled street with a sound of quivering, warm, wet promises. She crossed, and as she walked down O and past the Holy Trinity grade school auditorium, a priest rushed by from behind her, hands in the pockets of a nylon windbreaker. Young. Very tense. In need of a shave. Up ahead, he took a right, turning into an easement that opened to a courtyard behind the church. Chris paused by the easement, watching him, curious. He seemed to be heading for a white frame cottage. An old screen door creaked open and still another priest emerged. He nodded curtly toward the young man, and with lowered eyes, he moved quickly toward a door that led into the church. Once again the cottage door was pushed open from within. Another priest. It looked. Hey, it is. Yeah, the one who was smiling when Burke said, fucking. Only now he looked grave as he silently greeted the new arrival, putting his arm around his shoulder in a gesture that was gentle and somehow parental. He led him inside and the screen door closed with a slow, faint squeak. Chris stared at her shoes. She was puzzled. What's the drill? She wondered if Jesuits went to confession. Faint rumble of thunder. She looked up at the sky. Would it rain? The resurrection and the life ever. Yeah, sure. Next Tuesday. Flashes of lightning crackled in the distance. Don't call us, kid, we'll call you. She tugged up her coat collar and slowly moved on. She hoped it would pour. A minute later she was home. She made a dash for the bathroom. After that, she walked into the kitchen. "Hi, Chris, how'd it go?" Pretty blonde in her 20s sitting at the table. Sharon Spencer. Fresh. From Oregon. For the last 3 years, she'd been tutor to Regan and social secretary to Chris. Oh, the usual crock. Chris sauntered to the table and began to sift messages. "Anything exciting? Do you want to have dinner next week at the White House?" "Oh, I dunno, Marty. What do you feel like doing?" "Eating candy and getting sick." "Where's Rags?" "Downstairs in the playroom." "What doing?" "Sculpting." "She's making a bird, I think." "It's for you." "Yeah, I need one," Chris murmured. She moved to the stove and poured a cup of hot coffee. "Were you kidding me about that dinner?" she asked. "No, of course not," answered Sharon. "It's Thursday." "Big dinner party?" "No. I gather it's just 5 or 6 people." "Hey, neato." She was pleased but not really surprised. They courted her company: cab drivers, poets, professors, kings. What was it they liked about her? Life? Chris sat at the table. "How'd the lesson go?" Sharon lit a cigarette, frowning. "Had a bad time with math again." "Really? That's strange." "Yeah, I know, it's her favorite subject." "Oh, well, this new math. Christ, I couldn't make change for the bus if." "Hi, Mom." Her slim arms outstretched, Chris's young daughter had come bounding through the door toward her mother. Red pigtails. A soft, shining face full of freckles. "Hiya, stinkpot." Beaming, Chris caught her in a bear hug and kissed her pink cheek with smacking ardor. She could not repress the full flood of her love. "Mum, mum, mum." More kisses. Then she held Regan out and probed her face with eager eyes. "So what'd you do today? Anything exciting?" "Oh, stuff." "So what kinda stuff? Good stuff? Huh?" "Oh, let me see." She had her knees against her mother's, swaying gently back and forth. "Well, of course, I studied." "Oh, huh. And I painted." "What'd you paint?" "Oh, well, flowers, ya know." "Daisies?" "Only pink." "And then, oh, yeah, this horse." She grew suddenly excited, eyes widening. "This man had a horse, ya know, down by the river. We were walking, see, Mom, and then along came this horse. He was beautiful." "Oh, Mom, ya should have seen him, and the man let me sit on him." "Really? I mean, practically a minute." Chris twinkled at Sharon with secret amusement. "Himself?" she asked, lifting an eyebrow. On moving to Washington for the shooting of the film, the blonde secretary, who was now virtually one of the family, had lived in the house, occupying an extra bedroom upstairs. Until she'd met the horseman at a nearby stable, at which point Chris decided that Sharon needed a place to be alone, and had moved her to a suite in an expensive hotel and insisted on paying the bill. "Yes, himself," Sharon answered with a smile. "It was a grey horse," added Regan. "Mother, can't we get a horse? I mean, could we?" "We'll see, baby." "When could I have one?" "We'll see." "Where's the bird you made?" At first Regan looked blank, then she turned around to Sharon and grinned with a mouth full of braces and shy rebuke. "You told," she said before turning to her mother and snickering, "it was supposed to be a surprise." "You mean? With the long funny nose, like you wanted." "Oh, Rags, you're so sweet." "Can I see it?" "No, I still have to paint it." "When's dinner, Mom?" "Hungry?" "I'm starving." "Gee, it's not even 5. "When was lunch?" Chris asked Sharon. "Oh, 12ish, Sharon answered. "When are Willie and Carl coming back?" Chris had given them the afternoon off. "I think 7, said Sharon. "Mom, can't we go hot shop?" Regan pleaded. "Could we?" Chris lifted her daughter's hand, smiled fondly, kissed it, then answered, "Run upstairs and get dressed and we'll go." "Oh, I love you." Regan ran from the room. "Honey, wear the new dress," Chris called out after her. "How would you like to be 11 again?" mused Sharon. "I dunno." Reaching for her mail, Chris began sorting through scrawled adulation. "With the brain I've got now? All the memories?" "Sure. No deal. Think it over." Chris dropped the letters and picked up a script with a covering letter from her agent, Edward Jarris, clipped neatly to the front of it. "Thought I told them no scripts for a while." You should read it, said Sharon. Oh, yeah? Yes, I read it this morning. Pretty good? I think it's great. And I get to play a nun who discovers she's a lesbian, right? No, you get to play nothing. Shit, movies are better than ever. What in freak are you talking about, Sharon? What's the grin for? They want you to direct. Sharon exhaled coyly along with the smoke from her cigarette. What? Read the letter. Oh, my God, Shah, you're kidding. Chris pounced on the letter, her eyes snapping up the words in hungry chunks. New script. A triptych. Studio wants Sir Stephen Moore, accepting role provided. I direct his segment. Chris flung up her arms, letting loose a hoarse, shrill cry of joy. Then with both her hands she cuddled the letter to her chest. Oh, Steve, you angel, you remembered. Filming in Africa, drunken in camp chairs watching the vermilion and gold end of day. Ah, the business is bunk. For the actor it's crap, Steve. Oh, I like it. It's crap. Don't you know where it's at in this business? Directing. Then you've done something that's yours. I mean, something that lives. Well, then do it, love. Do it. Oh, I've tried, Steve. I've tried. They won't buy it. Why not? Oh, come on, you know why. They don't think I can cut it. Well, I think you can. Warm smile. Warm remembrance. Dear Steve. Mom, I can't find the dress. Regan called from the landing. In the closet, Chris answered. I looked. I'll be up in a second. Chris called. She flipped through the pages of the script, and then stopped, looking wilted as she murmured, I'll bet it's probably crap. Oh, I don't think so. Chris. No, I really think it's good. Oh, you thought Psycho needed a laugh track. Mommy? I'm coming. Got a date, Shah? Yes. Chris motioned at the mail. You go on, then. We can catch all this stuff in the morning. Sharon got up. Oh, no, wait, Chris amended. No, I'm sorry, there's a letter that's got to go out tonight. Oh, okay. Sharon reached for her dictation pad. A whine of impatience. Mother. Chris exhaled a sigh, stood up and said, back in a minute, but then hesitated, seeing Sharon checking the time on her watch. Chris said, what? Gee, it's time for me to meditate, Chris. Chris eyed her narrowly with fond exasperation. In the last 6 months, she had watched her secretary metamorphose into a seeker after serenity. It had started in Los Angeles with self-hypnosis, which then yielded to Buddhistic chanting. During the last few weeks that Sharon was quartered in the room upstairs, the house had reeked of incense, and lifeless dronings of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. See, you just keep on chanting that, Chris, just that, and you get your wish, you get everything you want, were heard at unlikely and untimely hours, usually when Chris was studying her lines. You can turn on the TV, Sharon generously told her employer on one of these occasions. It's fine. I can chant when there's all kinds of noise. Now it was transcendental meditation. You really think that kind of stuff is going to do you any good, Shah? It gives me peace of mind, responded Sharon. Right, Chris commented tonelessly, and then turned and started away with a murmured, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Keep it up about 15 or 20 minutes, Sharon called to her. Maybe for you it would work. Chris halted and considered a measured response. Then gave it up. She went upstairs to Regan's bedroom, moving immediately to the closet. Regan was standing in the middle of the room staring up at the ceiling. So what's doin'? Chris asked Regan as she hunted in a closet for the dress. It was a pale blue cotton. She'd bought it the week before, and remembered hanging it in this closet. Funny noises, said Regan. Yeah, I know. We've got friends. Regan looked at her. Huh? Squirrels, honey, squirrels in the attic. Her daughter was squeamish and terrified of rats. Even mice upset her. The hunt for the dress proved fruitless. See, Mom, it's not there. Yes, I see. Maybe Willie picked it up with the cleaning. It's gone. Yeah, well, put on the navy. It's pretty. After a matinee screening of Shirley Temple in Wee Willie Winkie at an art house cinema in Georgetown, they drove across the river on the Key Bridge to the hot shop in Rosslyn, Virginia, where Chris ate a salad while Regan had soup, 2 sourdough rolls, fried chicken, a strawberry shake, and blueberry pie topped with chocolate ice cream. Where does she put it? Chris wondered. In her wrists? The child was slender as a fleeting hope.